It's 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories are watching this Wednesday, December 17. The Bicameral Conference Committee is expected to hold its fourth session today. It is not yet clear if the committee will finally tackle the DPWH budget after discussions were once again stalled yesterday. The Senate and the House are targeting ratification of the 2026 GAB by December 22, after which it will be forwarded to President Bongbong Marcos for signature.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines says that it doubts that Bondi Beach gunmen received training in the Philippines. The AFP noted that there have been no recorded terrorist training activities, recruitment efforts, nor large-scale attacks by local terrorist groups here since 2016. The statement follows reports that the father and son gunmen visited the Philippines for alleged military-style training prior to their December 14 attack. In Sydney, that mass shooting in Australia has claimed at least 16 lives, including one of the gunmen, and injured dozens. The delayed EDSA rehabilitation will kick off on December 24th. Phase 1 will start at 11 in the evening on December 24, with 24-hour construction continuing until 5 a.m. on January 5, 2026. The DPWH will reblock and apply asphalt overlay on EDSA busway lanes, both northbound and southbound, during the holiday period. After January 5, roadworks will shift to nighttime hours to reduce traffic, with asphalt overlay and reblocking done lane by lane from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.
And the LTFRB has moved the implementation of the surge pricing cap for ride-hailing services to December 20 from the original December 17 schedule. LTFRB Chairman Vigor Mendoza says the extension will give transport network companies more time to prepare their systems and their operations. He clarifies that the postponement does not change or repeal the policy, which will remain in effect until January 4, 2026. And joining us today from the Philippine Star, at walang sound effects,
Editor-in-Chief, Amy Pamintuan, walang swoosh.
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Hi, Ami. Wala si Ronald eh. Walang makapag-komento sa iyong sa iyong kulay ngayong gabi, ngayong araw.
Babati lang ako ng Christmas mamaya, kaya ako nagpula.
Tagal po yun, ha? 17 pa lang.
Hindi, yung greeting natin.
Okay.
Greeting.
Yung greeting.
Lumang tao talaga si Ami.
Oy, Ami, he's throwing shade at you. Lumang tao ka daw.
That's not throwing shade.
Huwag mo compliment yung lumang tao.
Oo, lumang tao rin ako eh. Mas luma lang si Ami.
Okay.
Christmas color, syempre.
Di ba? Ano malaking sala nyo?
Puro pork barrel yung mabuti hindi namin hintay kagabi. Hanggang alauna daw yung Bicam kagabi.
Yes.
Puro pork barrel yung pinasa. Yung AIC, 63.9 billion.
Almost 64
yung
billion.
Farm to Market Road, 8 billion. Financial assistance to LGUs, I think mga 16 billion yata yun. Lahat yan discretionary fund. Yung AIC saka yung hindi discretionary kundi pork type according to the budget watchdogs.
Well, but that's a definition already of pork.
Post-enactment funding. Yan. Pati yung financial assistance to LGUs na yan, ginagawa, araw-araw may naririnig tayong panibagong panibagong program. Yan. Tapos yung farm to market roads nga na inireklamo ni Ping, ewan ko kung ano nangyari dun sa special provision na niya kagabi.
Hindi natin, we didn't get wind of any special provisions because when we spoke to him the other day, di ba, he was still studying them, sabi niya. And then they will pass it to the Bicam committee members. Pero hindi na natin nabalitaan what specific provisions these are. And as far as I know, na-mention ni Senator Win Gatchalian na there will be provisions to ensure that the politicians will not get involved, they can't promote it, hindi pwedeng kaling sa kanilang listahan, etc., etc. But I don't know if that's enough guardrails to ensure that this doesn't become a pork barrel, essentially, right? Tapos, whilst everyone was busy with debating MyFIP, ito na nga, IX, 64 billion pesos, almost 64 billion pesos has been approved for IX assistance to individuals in crisis situations. It is one of 4 aid programs under the DSWD. No.
Nawala yung mga hard pork barrel ngayon, yung soft. Ayuda pork barrel na ngayon. Puro assistance. Na post-budget enactment, at siguro kailangan iakyat na naman yun sa Supreme Court for a new ruling. Ano? Na kahit sa mga aid program, hindi pwedeng ganyan-ganyan. Tapos discretionary acts, of course, lahat may role yung mga politiko.
So we're looking at an increase of AX from 44 billion this year to 64 billion next year.
Dinagdagan ng about 20 billion.
So,
yung sa House,
mga
dumoble
50%
na yun
increase,
sa proposal ng NEP, yung National Expenditure Program, dumoble na, lalo pang lumaki dyan sa Bicam.
The main difference between IX and MyFIP, I guess, is the coverage. Yung IX kasi, it doesn't just cover healthcare, hospitalization, medical bills. Kahit ano, it could be funeral expenses, it could be food, it could be for education.
ABL kasal, binyag, libing.
It could be for education, transport, food, burial, anything, essentially. So ang laki ng discretionary component ng IX, di ba? Whereas MyFIP was clearly for the ones who need help settling their hospital bills. So,
at least kahit pa paano yung MyFIP is for medical purposes.
ito kahit ano, I can come to you my position.
MyFIP kasi hindi ibibigay sa iyo yung pere. Ang MyFIP kahit paano, it's a guarantee letter that the DOH will reimburse the hospital for expenses.
Natawa ko sa parang kahit paano. It's like we're talking about the least of the
speaking,
lesser
this is
evils.
the lesser evil. It turns
out of all the evils, as it turns out, MyFIP parang naging
kasi
least.
If I remember right, AX is cash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Diba?
DSWD.
Talagang literal na,
DSWD.
itong pera kasi kailangan mo nasa krisis ka. At that's determined by your social worker.
Kaya nga ang proposal ni Ping Lacson, dahil cash yan, edi ilagay nyo na lang under 4-piece. Or under a 4-piece system na yung cash, i-withdraw mo from ATM.
Which is a system which is databased already.
Yeah. Kasi nandun naman sa 4-piece kung sino yung pinaka-needy, di ba? Saka at least yun, may kondisyon. Di ka pwedeng o kaya, medyo baguhin nila yung system, pero ganun pa rin. Mawawala yung human direct distribution ng pera.
Basically,
para
yung
walang
patronage.
politics.
Basically, yung patronage.
Kaya nga ayaw
you go
nilang
to
tanggalin.
congressman or senator with your cap in hand.
Yun na nga. Hindi ba sabi sa atin kahapon ni Dr. Dance, inaabot ng mga 2 days para lang magkuha niyang, meron ka emergency crisis, intay ka ng 2 days dyan to access the MyFIP. Samantalang sa PhilHealth, immediately pagpunta mo doon sa ospital, kailangan meron na kayong arrangement, di ba?
And that's that's the lesser evil, kumbaga.
Out of all the evils there are in the budget.
Yung sabi ni Dr. Dance kahapon, stuck to me parang sa PhilHealth, kahit papano, ang kalusugan mo ay karapatan. Sa MyFIP, ang kalusugan mo ay utang na loob.
Right. Yun nga ang gusto ng mga gumagawa niyan. Kailangan may utang na loob ka at maalala mo yun sa eleksyon.
Kaya siya nag-spike this year kasi election year.
Yes. And instead of phasing it out, lalong lumaki. Congress is proposing an even bigger pot for MyFIP.
I was looking at MyFIP's numbers 22 billion in 2022, naging 23, naging 30-something, tapos nag-spike ng 2024 and 2025.
And for next year,
it's even higher
51. They're asking for 51 billion. This is Congress, even amidst the widespread corruption scandal involving the flood control project, even amidst that this political climate, humihingi pa rin sila ng 51 billion pesos for MyFIP. When in fact,
MyFIP pa lang yun,
when in fact,
meron pa yung AX, meron pa yung tupad, and now we're learning, meron pa lang financial assistance to LGUs, apart from their IRA na napakalaki na nga.
And then, as Dr. Dance was pointing out yesterday nga, they're basically sacrificing the 1.1 million patients under MyFib they're
Di naman yun, that's not
sacrificing...
exactly correct, ha? Dahil pwede naman yung humingi ng tulong through PhilHealth.
No. They're
We are
sacrificing...
all covered by PhilHealth.
No, they're sacrificing the 24 million members of PhilHealth that can't cover their premiums for the 1.1 million under MyFib. Yun yung pinapoint out ni Dr. Dance, which is there are 24 million members of PhilHealth that can't afford to pay their premiums. Why not just use that money to cover their premiums para kahit pa paano covered pa rin sila ng PhilHealth instead of the 1.1 million that, ask for these guarantee letters, these GLs na. So yun yung what's also the bigger problem about this issue, no?
Although theoretically, kahit hindi ka nagbabayad ng premium, you are supposed to be covered by PhilHealth.
Oo. Pero alam naman natin, in practice, what happens is, papabayarin ka pa rin. So they'll make you pay your outdated dues before you can get covered. Right? So maraming problema din yung PhilHealth in terms of the coverage. Yes, exactly right. Pero na nga universal healthcare law eh. Diba?
Yeah. Saka yung MyFib, sabi niya, hindi naman daw lahat indigent. Basta kaibigan ni politiko, ni congressman, or whatever.
Oo.
Pwedeng mag-avail dyan. If it's a crisis, it's a health crisis. So who will define the health crisis? Pag hinika ka ba, health crisis ba yon? It can be deadly, ha? Di ba? Kaya medyo malabo siya.
In fact,
Ewan ko kung matablan itong mga natin.
Ed, may tanong si Ami, Ed.
Sorry.
Tatablan
Ikaw
ba
kasi
yan? Mukhang wala nang hindi na tinatablan. Yung mahiya naman kayo, wala na, nabili na eh.
Do you think
Ano pa
may
sasabihin mo
effect
dyan?
pa?
Ano pa sasabihin mo dyan? Sige nga. Oo. Nagmamarcha na ang mga tao, meron pa din tayong ganyan, pork barrel pa rin.
Alam mo,
sige.
it's all a matter of perspective.
Sige nga.
Kasi nga, maifip, di ba? At least, maifip lang. Imagine mo kung mai-fourth yan o mai-third. Mas malaking porsyento doon. Corny. Wala ba tayong guest dyan?
So,
hindi ko kasi nag-gets yung tanong mo eh. Biniglaan niyo.
Kaya inaabangan natin ngayon kung ano mangyayari. Saka God. Tingnan natin kung ano reaction ng maniping Lacson dyan. Siya ang sabi na it's a pork-laden budget.
It is, and yun nga, it doesn't look like, MyFib pa lang yun sa AIX first up. I guess, hindi natin napansin din, right? We were all busy chasing the MyFib story, tapos ito na, nakalusot na yung AIX. They've approved, the Bicam has approved 64 billion pesos in AIX, and as we were just saying, mas malaki yung scope nito.
Kayo naman kasi, napakasalbahin nyo, tinanggal nyo yung unprogrammed appropriation, tinanggal nyo yung AKAP, tirahan nyo naman sila ng konti.
Akala ko ba this is going to be one of the most transparent budgets? One of the most transparent budgets ever.
Actually, Bok, kanina we were having a discussion here. Even this morning, we were having a discussion Kasi diba, the threat of reenacted budget looms over us if we go beyond December 22. That's a cutoff, diba? Wait.
To ratify.
The cutoff
within the year.
The cutoff is 22 to ratify. Meaning that still gives Congress enough time to publish and then submit to Malacanang kasi they have to publish it pa rin
basta pirmahan ni Bongbong ng within the year.
Within the year. Yeah. Pero kasi nga, yung titingnan nila is how soon can they ratify the 2026 budget. The question being, what happens if we are not able to pass a budget by January 1? Di ba, we have a reenacted budget. But what exactly does that mean and what does that imply? What are the implications of a reenacted budget?
Remember, tong GAA na to has been struck down by the Supreme Court. Maraming provisions dyan na declared unconstitutional, you will be reenacting it.
Well, obviously, yung mga any provisions struck down by jurisprudence will remain stricken off. That's clear. But the Constitution provides this, Article 6, Section 25-7 on reenactment of budgets. If by the end of any fiscal year, Congress shall have failed to pass the GAB for the ensuing fiscal year, the General Appropriations Law for the preceding fiscal year shall be deemed reenacted. Yeah, we know that already. And shall remain in force and effect until the General Appropriations Bill is passed by the Congress. So, pwede pang ihabol ng Kongreso kahit late.
Pwede siyang ihabol. Natanggal ako.
So, pwede siyang ihabol. Ang tanong lang is if it's a reenacted budget, paano yung mga programang pinonduhan this year at wala sa bagong budget next year? Pwede bang gastusin ng administrasyon yun habang wala pa yung bagong budget?
What does the Constitution say? Ang alam ko pwede i-redirect
That's all the
redirect
Constitution
yun
says on reenactment. The old budget remains in force until the new one is passed by Congress. What you do have are jurisprudence na.
Pag may redacted budget ka, and it gives the president very wide
That's what I
powers
was
and
asking.
discretion over
to divert funds.
quote-unquote savings, unused funds ng iba-ibang agency, and it will allow him to use it for anything.
Okay. Well, okay. So now we're talking about the lesser of all the evils that we're dealing with, right?
Hindi ko alam kung lesser evil yun.
In this world, hindi
Favorite
ba
siya ng mga corrupt na presidente, yung reenacted budget.
in this world, hindi ba kahit papaano, okay, let's say they have to reenact, and it's up to President Marcos to redirect funds to where they're needed the most. Hindi ba kahit papaano mas okay yun kaysa we pass a budget that's pork-laden, which we already know will be used to perpetrate patronage politics. Kahit papaano, pwede na lang natin bantayan.
Siguro mas madaling bantayan yung isang tao lang.
Oh, exactly. Which pot of money went to where? Mas mabilis bantayan, right? We can scrutinize that better na. Okay, where did you direct the ACAP funds to? Diba? Kasi sa 2025 budget, may ACAP funds pa eh. I don't know. In theory, in my mind, parang okay. So the only thing is that of course, hindi okay yung reenacted budget for the economy, for the broader economy. You can't start new projects. You can't start new big infrastructure projects. That's the problem. And of course, that's going to have a huge impact on the economy, right? Bumagsak na nga yung GDP natin. And if the government isn't able to stimulate the economy through public work spending, then that's going to be a big problem as well.
In Araujo versus Aquino III, I think this is Pinoy, on July 1, 2014, the DAP ruling, it says, the Supreme Court said, the executive cannot treat savings as a blank check during reenactment.
Pero late na yan eh.
Also, funds under a reenacted budget cannot be realigned to new projects.
Not to new
2014
projects.
ba yan?
Okay, so that's why.
2014.
2014.
Pero panahon na yan ni Pinoy.
This is Araujo versus Pinoy. I think this is Carol Araujo.
Offshoot na yan nung pork barrel scandal.
DAP. Bok, ano to? DAP. This is the DAP ruling. The
yung
Disbursement
DAP.
Acceleration Program ruling. And reaffirms that the enactment preserves congressional control over appropriations. Abacada Guro Party List versus Purisima in 2008. The Supreme Court says reenacted budgets do not expand the executive's fiscal powers beyond what Congress had previously approved.
Doon natigil yung nung Arroyo administration. Yung paulit-ulit na reenactment.
Actually, we were talking to Joey Francisco earlier, and Joey covered the Arroyo presidency. Ang naalala ni Joey, puro nga reenacted
Laging
budgets
reenacted.
ang GMA term. In fact, there were some years daw, as far as he can tell, as far as he can remember, na buong taon reenacted. Hindi na hinahabol yung
Kaya nga,
yung bagong budget.
Yun nga ang dahilan. Dahil it gave the president wide discretion.
A wide latitude, no?
To use the funds for whatever.
Okay.
Kaya lang, ang gulo-gulo. Bakit, in the first place, bakit mo pa pinagawa yung mga ahensya ng Ang hirap-hirap gumawa ng budget, annual budget. Nasayang lang yung trabaho nila. Tapos hindi mo maumpisahan yung mga bago mong project, as Reg nga pointed out. Yung mga balak ninyong gawin, hindi nyo magagawa. Walang pondo eh.
Or hindi pwede ma-realign, baka ma-challenge sa courts.
hindi
Tapos, for
pwede.
example, yung PhilHealth, it's a zero budget, zero subsidy for this year, for 2025.
Yun na nga.
Under
Di wala na
these
naman siya subsidy
conditions-
next year.
Under these conditions, can the President next year shuttle or shunt funding to PhilHealth if there was no funding for this year?
Hindi. Ang pwedeng gawin, halimbawa, pinirmahan niya ni President Marcos para lang magkaroon tayo ng budget, walang reenactment. Yung mga pork na yan, yung mga soft pork na yan, pwedeng i-exercise na executive yung power of the purse nila. They actually have the ultimate power of the purse dahil sila yung magre-release. So lahat yan, pwede nilang markahan, which I think they did with ACAP during the election, for later release. Merong mga opposition member, hindi ko na lang nasabihin kung sino, sinabi sa akin, 2023 pa daw, wala na sila ng mga pondo na hinihingi nila. Lahat sila FLR, for later release.
For the release.
Yun ang pwedeng
Oo
gawin.
nga pala yung FLRs din.
Also,
Yun ang
reminder
pwedeng
namin,
gawin. Hindi
Saros.
bawal sa executive na gawin yun.
pero Bok, also reminder, itong mga, of course, we're looking at all these pork-like funds. Yes, importante sila this year, 2025, because it was an election year. But
Hindi nga eleksyon, ha?
but the admin might also find it very important to have pork-like funds next year if it's going to aim for impeachment.
Yan na nga, yan ang sabi naman ng iba ngayon. Yan naman ang spekulasyon ngayon, ha? Ibalik mo.
Kasi kung mag-unahan sila, there's a threat against BBM of impeachment eh. Ano kung mag-unahan yung dalawang yun?
That's also true. That's also one way of looking at it. Although
I'm just being malicious.
I don't know. We've asked some House members, right, kung if there's appetite for impeachment. And for example, the last person I spoke to about this was Congressman Zia Diong, who's a deputy speaker. And he said they haven't spoken about it.
You're
according
talking
to him.
Talking about impeachment versus Sara or versus BBM?
VP
Versus
Sara Duterte, yes.
Well, yeah, February 7 pa naman yun. And of course,
Sabi
they're,
niyo, hindi pa naman daw nabibring up. I mean, they don't know.
at this
nobody
point,
said
they're
anything
busy
about
with the
it.
budget, and they can't afford to show that they're thinking of other things aside from the budget. They have to get over this hump
Pero
first.
No, but now it's in the hands of Bicam. I mean, I'm talking about all the other members of Senate and Congress that are not part of the Bicam. And,
It's-
planning their futures.
It's one institution.
Right.
And it's a BICAM versus the plenary, but it's one
Ang story
institution.
nga from the House, yung AX daw is already institutionalized. Hindi ko pa nababasa. Under their version of the AX, yung House daw, third and final reading, they actually institutionalized na daw AX. Meaning, all the way to 2028 yan. Hindi ko pa nababasa yung exactly what that means. Ha?
No, what do you mean by institutionalized? You mean it's there's a law
Parang
that
ano na siya,
created
yung
the program?
under the DSWD. Meaning, nandiyan na, remember, ano yan, that's a political KBL nga yan, di? Yung kasalbinyag-libing
kasalbinyag-libing.
pondo yan eh. Kaya, titignan ko pa kung ano yung final version na yun. Kasi normally, iniintay ko kung lumabas sa Bicam, di ba? Kasi mag-ano pa yung mag-horse trading, but ngayon, ayan, lumaki lalo. 63.9 billion.
From 40,
64 billion.
Yeah. Tumaas ng mga 50%
kaya nga.
thereabouts.
Pwede nga gamitin yan, nabanggit nyo. Pwede gamitin ng executive yan to get what it wants from the legislature. Na, puro FLR kayo unless sumunod kayo sa amin. Yan, pwedeng gawin yan. Nothing stops the executive
Now,
from doing that.
As for the farm-to-market roads, initially, ang hiningi ng Congress, or I can't remember if it was Congress or Senate, but initially the proposal was 33 billion pesos. Which became, how much was it, Ami? Yung na-approve?
Bumaba siya.
To 8, was it 8?
Etong kini-question ngayon ni Kiko Pangilinan, 8 billion na lang eh. Oo.
8 billion.
Pero, hinihingi niya yung detailed breakdown. Wala daw. Hindi pwede yun. Hindi pwedeng lump sum yun kung farm to market yan.
Hindi nga pwede. And you know, a few weeks ago, when I interviewed Secretary Kiko Tiu Laurel, sabi niya, there is a master plan for farm-to-market roads. It exists. So I don't know why they can't just submit that master plan, right? And say, okay, 33 billion, these are the phases. These are what we can focus on, right? Para malinaw na this money is going to the following farm-to-market roads and para hindi na babaguhin later on after they get the money, after they get the funding, right? So, because that's one easy solution to it. A lot of the senators are complaining.
Alam mo naman, Reg, ayaw nila ng easy solution. Gusto nila hindi natin maintindihan lahat. Confuse the enemy.
Okay. Hindi ba tama naman kung meron ka ng master plan, just tell me, okay, this is what we can afford with 33. This is what we can afford with 8 billion.
Yeah.
DPWH master plan nga.
Yan ang hinihingi ni Kiko Pangilinan. Bigyan mo nga ako ng breakdown.
Oo, para
yung
hindi na...
specs ng project, saan ba yan? Sino bang na gano'n yan? Tingnan natin kung pagbigyan siya.
Kasi I kept asking Secretary Tiu Laurel din, how can you ensure that yung corruption doesn't just move from one agency to yours, right? DPWH to DA. And secondly, as Ed was pointing out kahapon, specialty nga ba ng DA yung building roads, right? And
saka nagkaroon na ng corruption scandal yung DA, yung fertilizer fund scam.
yeah,
Hindi pa nga natatapos ang litigation doon. Ang dami-dami pang hindi napaparusahan.
Although kasi if you base it on need, it's the DA that would be able to tell you what it needs. But
Kung
the DA does not need to tell you how much to spend for it or how to build the road. It just needs to tell you where it needs a road. The irony as well is
sasabihin nila yun sa DBM dapat.
But the irony as well is this. One of the major reasons, not the only reason of course, but one of the major reasons for the apparent failure of the agrarian reform system in the country is the failure of government to provide for support services for farmers. Of course, it's not the only problem, but it's one of the major problems. Walang support services, which includes making sure that farmers are able to deliver with much cost efficiency their produce to the market. Ang parating hinahanap dati, walang matinong kalsada from the farm to the market. So, nahihirapan
Hindi naman natuloy lahat yung doon. Karamihan sa farm support services promised under the agrarian reform, hindi natuloy. Unang-una, ang nagko-control niyang mga services na yan, marami dyan, local politicians.
Who are usually, of course, also the
Pangalawa, nagkaroon ng insertion dun sa CARP law that exempted all the major, isa yan sa failure ng ating bagong administrasyon noon, all the major farms exempted. Pinabayaan sila na
yung stock distribution option.
nila?
The stock distribution
ano yung tawag
option.
dun sa scheme na yon?
The stock distribution option.
Na it was overturned, later, but years and years and years later na.
Okay.
Ano problema dyan?
Oo, so...
Kaya tingnan natin.
okay. So, at this point, we are still waiting for the Bicam deliberations to kick off again today. But in the meantime, let's try to get the latest. We have mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes with us. She is reporting live from the PICC. Mary Mon, ano na nangyari? What are we looking at? Have they started again?
Good afternoon. So far dito sa PICC, hindi pa nagsisimula ang Bicam. Though ang sinabi kanina nga around 1-2 a.m. nung patapos na yung Bicam na nagsimula kagabi, 2 o'clock in the afternoon dapat yung pagsisimula ng Bicam for today, Wednesday. Pero sa nakuha nating schedule, 4 o'clock ang supposed beginning or resumption ng Bicam. So far sa mga nahagilap natin na dumaan dito sa likuran natin, sina Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Erwin Tulfo, yung ilan sa mga nakita na natin na nandito na. And then pero so far hindi pa sila nagsisimula, pero ang nasabi nila and kasama si House Committee on Appropriations Chair, Congresswoman na Micaela Swansing na 11 agencies na lang daw ang kailangan nilang talakayin today. And hopefully ang target daw nila matapos ngayong araw talaga ang Bicam para maabot nila yung timeline pa nila na by December 22 will be the ratification of the enrolled bill, and then by December 29 o basta raw bago ang bagong taon, mapapirmahan na ang 2026 national budget kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos.
Mary Mon, of course, the biggest sticking point at this stage is the DPWH budget. Because we're waiting on the latest data from Secretary Vince Dizon kasi nga he admitted that okay, yung nasubmit sa Senate Finance Committee may have been wrong, so they have to update those numbers. What is the latest on that? Nasubmit na ba yun? And are they still asking for 45 billion pesos?
Reg, kanina bago pumunta dito sa PICC si Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, nakapanayam din siya ng media at ang sabi niya, they are still calculating daw, kino-compute daw nila ngayon yung possible na pagtatapyas o pagre-retain ng budget sa ilang mga proyekto kasi yung 45 billion pesos ang sinasabi ni Secretary Vince Dizon, maapektuhan daw nito implementasyon ng nearly 10,000 na mga proyekto. Pero kanina ang sabi ni Senator Sherwin, parang may posibilidad na maibalik pero hindi yung buong 45 billion pesos sa pondo ng DPWH. Kaya ngayon din ang sabi ni Senator Sherwin, baka mabuksan na ito ngayon and hopefully ma-resolve na and ma-reconcile na nila.
Talaga, they expect to finish by today?
Yes.
Is that
Target
a
nila
yes
book ngayong araw
with
daw, sabi
optimism
niya
or yes
Senator
with,
Sherwin
with
kanina,
realism?
target nila. Pero still, ang titingnan natin kung kakailangan pa ba nila ng extra time kasi sabi ni Senator Sherwin, hindi na raw sila on schedule. Yung buffer days nila nakakain na ngayon. Tapos yung unang sinabi kasi ni Senator Sherwin kahapon, pagka kinulang daw ng oras by December 22, bukas naman daw yung mga senador na magtrabaho, December 23, December 24, December 26, wag lang daw ang araw ng Pasko. Pero ang nasabi niya naman na earlier was may mga magbabakasyon na rin daw, may mga kailangan na rin puntahan yung ilang mga senador, kaya mas nagiging tight na talaga ngayon ang schedule nila.
So you're
Pero
looking at
may debate din over my FIP, ano? Sabi sa amin ni Senator Ping Lacson, magsasubmit daw siya ng special provisions to prevent abuse. Meron na ba tayong word kung ano yon yung proposal niya?
So far ngayon wala pa even yung final matrices kasi humihingi rin tayo actually ng updated na budget mula sa opisina ni Senator Sherwin. Pero ang nasabi sa atin, binabalanse pa raw kasi nila yung datos kaya wala rin pang mabigay talaga in specific. Even yung mga special provisions, ang nasabi pa nga ni Senator Ping, nagbigay nga siya ng babala nung nagsisimula ang Bicam na hindi raw siya pipirma sa Bicam report hanggat nandyan pa itong maifip, yung over 51 billion pesos. Kinwestiyon din ni Senator Ping yung 33 billion pesos na inaprubahan for the farm-to-market roads. Tapos ngayon, na-raise pa na meron daw mga bagong project items na wala pang technical na description or yung kulang pa yung impormasyon sa mga ito, amounting to around 5 to 8 billion pesos. Though, sinuportahan ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan yung pag-aproba ng budget ng DA for the farm-to-market roads, pero ngayon humihingi na rin siya ng karagdagan pang detalye doon sa bagong mga kine-question na items sa budget.
Okay, but Bok, I don't quite get how they can be optimistic that they can finish by today if you're looking at some issues that kakasabi mo lang kanina sa maifi pa lang medyo malabonix pa yung malabonix. Medyo hindi pa malinaw yung possible points of consensus and that's maifip. Doon sa construction materials prices, they still, I suppose, they still need to look for common for a settlement on a reasonable number that's acceptable to both parties, and that's not exactly easy. Tapos
Yes.
number 3, binabanggit si Ping Lacson et al na they want to insert special provisions that will ensure that these will not be abused. Have we even heard of what provisions they have in mind to put in place? Parang medyo masyadong optimistic ata yung today matapos, or am I just being pessimistic?
Bok, ang sinasabi kasi kanina ni Senator Sherwin, target, ang pinakaginamit na salita ni Senator Win, target nilang matapos ang Bicam today. Pero nung natanong natin yung mga in specific, for example, sa budget ng public works, ang sabi ni Senator Win, nagka-compute pa raw sila, nagka-calculate pa raw sila. Pero kaya dito nabubuksan ngayon yung usapin ng reenacted budget, kung saan sinasabi ni Majority Floor Leader, Senator Mig Zubiri, na kung kakailanganin daw, parang mabubuksan na nga idea na mag-reenact ng budget early quarter of 2026, pero as much as possible, linisin daw, habulin daw yung pagre-repaso sa pondo. For Senator Ping naman, yun din yung sinasabi niya, either January o first quarter ng 2026, mas mabuti yatang mag-reenacted budget muna hanggat hindi pa nare-resolve itong minamata niya na pwedeng maging small pork barrels or yung political patronage na sinasabi niya doon naman sa maifip. Ang sinasabi rin kasi dito ng ilang mga senador, mas maganda raw sana na idiretso na sa mga ospital yung pag-a-access daw ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino, lalo na yung financially incapacitated, para sa kanilang mga kondisyon o mga assistance na kakailanganin pagdating sa medical assistance na hahanapin nila. Pero so far, yun yung nakuha natin on this end. Even si Chairman Swansing, may timeline siya daw na sinusunod. So as much as possible, gusto nilang masunod yung timeline na yon para raw matupad yung hinihiling ng bansa na mas malinis, corruption-free daw, at wala na raw yung mga maanumalyang budget sa loob ng 2026 na pondo.
Kasi if you do... Ibo.
No, we have to let Marimon go, but
Okay.
I guess we're going to be monitoring. It's going to be another marathon hearing, it sounds like. We're going to have to monitor this till
Another
late.
until 1 a.m. ka dyan, Marymon.
Okay. Buti na lang bata pa si Marymon. Thank you so much for that report. Mobile journalist Marymon Reyes na hindi lumang tao. But we will go on a quick break right now. You're watching Storycon. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news in the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay. Still with us, Ami Pamitun of the Philippine Star.
And also joining us this afternoon is Philippine Navy spokesperson Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad. He's also former Chief of Staff of Task Force Zambasulta. Admiral, good afternoon and welcome back to Storycon.
Yes, good afternoon everyone. And sa mga taga-subaybay, good afternoon to all of us.
Good afternoon, sir. Teka lang, for context, for those who don't know what Zambasulta is, it's Zamboanga, Basilan, Sulu,
Tawi-Tawi.
Tawi-Tawi,
Sulu,
Zambasulta.
Tawi-Tawi.
Okay.
Yes. I was the former Chief of Staff there and the former spokesperson. And the primary focus of Joint Task Force Zambasulta was terrorism and the Abu Sayyaf group.
Yes, sir. Well, sir, we're bringing you in precisely because of what happened dun sa Australia, kung saan namaril ang mag-ama. And it turns out that they stayed in the Philippines for one entire month in November. At least as far as they can tell dun sa records nila, their final destination in the Philippines would have been Davao or the Davao region. And because of that, we have the Philippines back on the spotlight all over the world na parang we're supposedly a haven of terrorism.
Oh, in fact, yung ibang international media, ang headline nila is hotspot, ISIS hotspot daw yung Pilipinas. What does the AFP have to say about this?
Yes, first and foremost, let us look at what happened, what transpired in Australia. This was a shooting incident targeting Jewish people, the Jews, attending the Hanukkah festival. Meaning, this is more of anti-Semitism at work and not terrorism. Or we could say it is anti-Semitism through an act of terror. What's the difference between these two? And now, they are saying that just because dumaan sila sa atin for a month, everybody is now saying that we are a hotbed of terrorism. This is unfair to all the efforts of the Filipino people and the AFP and all government agencies who over the years have brought down our terror problem to an inconsequential level. From 1,257 identified terrorists down to roughly only 50 with no leaders and no organization. So, by saying that they passed by the Philippines and insinuating that they were radicalized here, it misses the point and it puts the burden on us. Firstly, this was an anti-Semitic action. Secondly, it will take more than a month to radicalize an individual. When we speak of terrorism, we are generally referring to radical Islamization. It will take years to radicalize a person. And we have seen what are the results of terror acts, suicide bombers. It would take years to do that. Just because the father and son passed by the Philippines doesn't mean that they were radicalized here, doesn't mean that we are a hotbed of terrorism. On the contrary, our figures will show that terrorism is on the downtrend in the Philippine setting.
Sir, are you
Admiral,
saying...
yung Biyang Basulta, ano po ang mga threat groups dyan ngayon? Yung major kasi binabanggit nila yung mga dating mga Islamic State affiliated groups dyan eh. Buhay pa ba yung mga yun? Alam namin, meron pang Dawla Islamiyah. Pero ano pa yung mga threat groups ngayon na pwedeng i-relate sa IS or ISIS?
Yes, I mean, if we are to look at the Philippine terror setting, terrorism first came to the forefront in the early 1990s or late 80s with the bombing of the MV Dolos in Zamboanga City Pier. By then, an unknown group which later came out to be the Abu Sayyaf group, founded by, among others, Abdurrajak Janjalani, a veteran of the Russo-Afghan campaign. And from there was a new player in the Philippine setting, security setting, the Abu Sayyaf group. The Abu Sayyaf group, after Abdurrajak Janjalani, the leadership was passed on to his brother, Gaddafi. And then we now have the second and third generation leaders. But they have now been decimated. They are basically only bandits right now. Basilan, which used to be the hotbed of the Abu Sayyaf, is now a very safe, secured, and progressive place. There are local incidents of violence, but it is not terror-related or Islamic terror-related. Polo, which used to be another hotbed, is now very safe. The circumferential roads are finished. On a weekend, all the public places, the beaches are full of people. And our local ground commanders can attest to that. In central Mindanao, Ansar Al-Khalifa Mindanao, Ansar Al-Khalifa Philippines, AKM, AKP, when their leader was arrested, Tokboy, they were on the downtrend. In the Lanao region, we have the Mauti group, which after 2017, they are now only the remnants. There are a few groups right now, Dawla Islamiyah, local, Lanao or Central Mindanao, etc. But to say that they are now representing ISIS is inaccurate and false. They are now, we don't have anymore a central group that the armed forces, as we speak right now, is facing to the magnitude of the Abu Sayyaf or the Mauti group. Again, terrorism in the Philippine setting is on a downtrend and our figures will tell us about that.
Sir, I'm certain you still have your contacts in the Zambasulta area, and I'm sure you're still talking to them, specifically yung mga security forces and security officials. Do we have any idea where itong mag-ama, saan sila nagpunta itong Nobyembre? Were security officers able to trace or track their whereabouts during that time in November?
Yes, the armed forces right now is in coordination with the PNP, the Bureau of Immigration, and other security agencies of the government to be able to see if we could track or piece together kung saan sila umikot ang mag-ama na ito, anong ginawa nila. Again, 1 month is not enough, is not sufficient to radicalize a person, especially to give him extreme views and to carry them out. Radicalization will take a lot of years.
Yes.
That's why we have a very strong PCVE, countering violent extremism, preventing and countering violent extremism. This is community-based, it is sustainable, and we have seen the fruits of our efforts along this line.
Admiral, I know what you're saying. I know, of course, radicalization takes years, pero there is also a possibility that they were radicalized before already, tapos pumunta lang, I don't know, this is a very hypothetical scenario, na pumunta lang sa Davao region or wherever in the south, wherever they went to in the south, to, I don't know, to coordinate with other extremists, right? In fact, some of the news articles from overseas that I've read about this insinuated that the father and son were getting military-style training, right? So there's also still that possibility. What do you think about that?
Yes, I don't want to jump ahead of any validation or investigation. But the initial results will show that this is, again, not terrorism at work. It is anti-Semitism. And anybody could hold a anti-Semitic view or a hatred for the Jews. It's happening right now in Europe. It's happening in Latin America. So you could be not Muslim and be anti-Semitic. So just because they passed by the Philippines, all of a sudden it is given a terrorism flavor. Let's go back to the basics. Hapuna Festival, targeting Jews.
Pero ang sinasabi kasi nila, Admiral, yung militant training nila nakuha dito sa atin from our militant groups. Yun lang naman ang sinasabi ng mga foreign reports, no? So we're asking you about the level of threat actually, na dapat ba mag-worry tayo and the rest of the world na merong ganyan na pwedeng matuto ang mga tao mag-handle ng baril at pumatay ng tao dito sa Pilipinas.
Actually, the terror setting right now in the Philippines, a lot of the leaders have already been neutralized by the AFP. Tokboy or Muhammad Jafar Magid in early 2017. We have Abu Hassan, we have Abu Dar, Abid Turaife. These are leaders of the different terror groups. And when you remove the leader, it takes time to replace them. So it will follow the fact that the members of the groups would also go back slowly into society. And without the leadership and the organization, the group will die a natural death. Right now, what we are dealing with are pockets of different groups which would like to claim that they are the overall terror group representing a foreign terror organization. They are not. We are looking at dispersed, some of them are already bandits. So it is unfair again to say that the Philippines is a hotbed of terror. From 1,257, we are dealing with roughly only 50 local terrorists.
And out of this 50, Admiral, I wonder, do we know how many of them are aligned with the Islamic State? Or kung meron
The
pang mga
Islamic
cells?
State tried to establish their strongest push was during the Marawi siege. And they gave 4 requirements for Isnilon Hapilon before he would be recognized as the emir of ISIS in the Philippines. What were the 4 requirements? He should unify all the factors fighting the government, the different terror groups. Number 2, he should have territory. Number 3, there should be leadership. And number 4, they should establish Sharia law. And then they will be recognized now as a caliphate. After the Marawi siege in 2017, Isnilon Hapilon was killed there. 6 months before that, 5 months before, in January 2017, Tokboy, who, according to some reports, was also on the way to Marawi. So after that, we don't have any group that everybody will claim just for fame or maybe for funding support that they would represent a foreign terror organization. But right now, we are dealing with local terrorist groups.
Okay, so meron din mga nagka-claim na they're aligned with the foreign terrorist cells pero hindi naman talaga. It's out of, they're just trying to gain some fame. That's what you're saying.
Admiral, lihis lang akong konti kasi there's a lot of uncertainty right now doon sa nangyayari sa BARM. Hindi nila malaman kung mag-election sila, magkakaroon ng bagong parliament. Is this a cause for concern sa military, sa mga counter-terrorism groups? You think it might encourage militancy again, etong problema to?
Ma'am Ami, could you say the first part of the question again? The first part lang.
Kasi may problema ngayon, di ba? Uncertain ngayon kung matutuloy yung first parliamentary elections sa BARM. Alam naman natin kung sino-sino yung mga grupo dyan na naglalaban-laban. Are you worried, yung military, are you worried na baka magkaroon na naman ng mga militant movement dahil dyan sa political uncertainty sa BARM? At magka-problema na naman tayo sa local terrorism.
Yes, on the situation of the BARM, first and foremost, we would like to say that Basilan is now terror-free, ASG-free. The presence of the ASG in Holo has been wiped out. We are now seeing an influx of tourists in Basilan and Holo, local tourists at that. the government of the OPAPRO is on top of the situation when it comes to the barn, the election, and all other dynamics there. We are making sure that there will be no opportunity for any local or foreign terror organizations to be able to touch base in a community and start another new group. But there, the AFP and other government agencies involved in that are proactive measures at the community level to ensure that there will be no resurgence of these so-called terror groups, whether local or linked to foreign ones.
Okay.
Okay.
And, okay. I think we have to let you go because we've run out of time. But thank you so much for joining Storycon today and explaining all of that to us. Philippine Navy spokesperson, Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Admiral.
Okay.
Everyone.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining Storycon today. I'm Ipomintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Edlin Gao, kapatid. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Tomorrow, pero wala na ako tomorrow. I'm on Christmas leave tomorrow. But thank you for watching.
In-announce me.
I'm gonna give you a new co-anchor. Oh, si Ami.
Okay, goodbye na tayo. Ba't nandiyan pa tayo?
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.